Recently, the LA Thieves took on OpTic in their first match of the 2025 season. It was the first match of qualifiers for the Thieves since coming back from the holiday break, and we ended up pushing it to a game 5, but unfortunately, things did not go in our favor with a 3-2 loss. And we'll kind of break it down a little bit more, but to start things off, the maps and modes were Hacienda Hardpoint for the map 1, Red Card SnD for the map 2, Hacienda Control map 3, Skyline Hardpoint for the map 4, and then Hacienda Search and Destroy to close it out. And to start off, the Thieves really didn't look that great. They just didn't seem like they were kind of playing cohesively, at least as much as you would kind of hope for the type of team that the Thieves are. They started off in the first map losing 96 to 250. So we got a 100-point clubbed early. And, based on how the Thieves had looked in Hardpoint, this is something that you wouldn't really expect from them. But one of my biggest concerns going into the Hacienda was the fact that 3 players on the side of OpTic have played Hacienda in Black Ops 4. So it's something that I'm sure they were a little more used to than maybe some of the Thieves guys, knowing that Envoy was the only one to actually compete on the Hacienda Hardpoint map prior to this season. I don't know how big of a deal that really makes, but either way, the big thing to note out of that first map was Scrap was, I want to say, triple negative. I mean, he ended up going 6 and 19. Something you really don't expect to see from a guy like Scrap. He had 774 damage, which is the lowest, I believe, in CDL history for damage in a hardpoint match. So really not ideal. Everybody else on the side of Thieves was negative besides Hydra. He was the only one going even at 16 and 16. And then Hook on the side of OpTic was 22 and 9, 2.4 KD with over 2,000 damage. Shotzi was doing everything as well, 21 and 12. Really hard to beat OpTic when you have Hook and Shotzi just kind of flying around the map. OpTic really played the map 1 solid, and that led us into the red card map 2, where the Thieves actually bounced back in this one. They started off pretty hot. They ended up closing the map 6-3, and this one was one I kind of expected to go in the Thieves' favor. They have played red card pretty well so far from what we've seen, and I mean, it kind of looks like their SnD is kind of becoming one of their stronger game modes, which was not the case at the start of the season. Scrap had a huge bounce back map, going 12 and 6 to kind of help seal the deal on that map. He had a huge 1v1 against Dashy, and it wasn't pretty, but he got the job done. And that pushed. I believe he started off with a 5 streak. I don't know if that was part of the streak at all, but either way, he went 12 and 6, had a really solid map. Everybody else on the side of Thieves was positive, and everybody on the side of OpTic was negative. So that was a big bounce back. Map 2 pushing us to the Hacienda Control, where this one ended up going our way as well, 3-1. And it looked like it was going to be very, very close at the end. Ghosty had a huge play to kind of counteract Shotzi's play that he had. Shotzi ended up doing like everything he could in the very last round to try and push to a round 5, but Ghosty, he had a big 3-piece, and then Hydra was kind of the last guy alive to close it out and allow us to win on offense, giving us that 3-1 win. Envoy and Scrap were the 2 negative players on the side of Thieves. Ghosty was 25 and 20, and Hydra was 22 and 22. Again, both of them had really big moments in the end of their offensive round that put us over the hump. And then Dashy and Kenny were both negative. Dashy 18 and 22, Kenny 13 and 21. Shotzi had a huge map actually, going 30 and 25. Like I said, he was trying to do anything he could to get the win. Hook was 27 and 17, plus 10. 3K damage for him. So, OpTic was fighting. There was definitely a good chance that they could have taken that to a round 5, and luckily Ghosty had a big three piece, and then Hydra was able to close it off by taking down Shotzi, who had just got like 5 kills in a row or something like that. So really big plays from them to push us to the Skyline Hardpoint. And this one was a lot closer than the first Hardpoint. We've seen the Thieves play Skyline several times before, and they look pretty solid. I mean, it's really hard because it's such a bang out of a map, very similar to like Bocage back in the Vanguard season. So it's really just like super fast paced. Um, Unfortunately, this one did not pan out in our favor. We lost this one 206 to 250, and I think our biggest problem was P2 hills. We could not hold P2 hills to save our life. It seemed like every single time that was kind of where OpTic broke back into back into the map. And we got to a point where we were leading, I wouldn't say by a lot, but we were up at one point. It was 202 to 170. And then, we had that P2 rotation where OpTic was able to bounce back. And then they basically held the entire thing going up 222 to 202. And then P3 was kind of where everything just fell apart for the Thieves. OpTic had a really big break where they were able to kind of just pin the Thieves in their spawn, and Thieves weren't able to break back in. Envoy was the only one positive for the side of Thieves, going +6 with a 37 and 31 stat line. Ghosty had a rough one at 20 and 35, -15, which you really don't like to see. And then everybody on the side of OpTic was positive to push themselves to that Game 5 SnD on Hacienda. And this is where things kind of got a little out of hand, I would say. The Thieves actually started off really well, but that's kind of the problem that, I wanted to talk about with this was the Thieves started off hot. They won the very first round, and they had a really solid play where Scrap was able to hit a water route, played his life basically for a while until the Thieves kind of hit something, and then he was able to pop out and get a free two-piece, which helped seal the round there. And then they went on to win their next 2 rounds before OpTic won their first one. Thieves went on to win the next 2 after that. And then that's where everything kind of hit the fan. So after that, Thieves were up 5-1, and I don't know what happened. I don't know. Like it just seemed like the Thieves kind of beat themselves here. It was really disappointing to see, to be completely honest with you. I was watch partying it, and I got really upset. Just stuff that shouldn't happen. You're up 5-1. You shouldn't lose 6-5 in the end. Like that just shouldn't happen, especially with how you looked in the first SnD. Just it shouldn't happen. There's no better way to put it. Envoy was 9 and 8, Ghosty 5 and 9, Hydra 7 and 10, and then Scrap was 12 and 9. He had himself another good SnD map, but it just seemed like plays weren't being made when it really mattered. Unfortunately, there was a play, I don't remember which round it was. It could have been the second round that OpTic won, that I felt like there was a play Hydra could have made. I don't know if that's one of those hindsight hairy takes here. I don't know, but Hydra had the opportunity to kind of hop out of the top window to flank around and probably get 2 kills, because I don't think OpTic would have been expecting him to be there. He didn't end up doing that. He ended up getting picked, and then from there, Ghosty was in a 1v2 situation, I believe, and ended up losing that one. And then things kind of spiraled out from there. We got into the round 11, and we actually started on the right side of things. We got the first blood on Shotzi, and Shotzi had this, like, I don't want to say it was a miracle thing, because crazy enough, I think it was actually intentional, but it felt like a miracle grenade where he was standing behind rock and just lobbed it up, basically straight up in the air, got killed, and then got his own trade to make it an even playing field for both teams. And Thieves decided to try to wrap back around into their spawn, but they were kind of faking it a little bit. So they came back. It just got to the point where it seemed like the Thieves didn't really know where they wanted to go with the bomb to try and close out that round. And they ended up pushing back into the same plant site. And they ended up, I believe, getting I think they ended up winning the trade battle there because they ended up going up 2-1. Kenny was the last guy alive. I believe Envoy and Hydra were the last two up for the Thieves. And there was about 20 seconds left. So at that point, they just needed to make a decision on what it was that they wanted to do. And I think they had an idea of where Kenny was at. They didn't know exactly where, but I think they had a general idea. And they decided to start to wrap back towards the A site, I believe, and just went back mid. And I think they decided to take the fight to Kenny. And apparently that was the worst thing they could have done. They came in, I believe it was Hydra slid in first, chowed Kenny, got him maybe a little weak, if I remember correctly. He might have got him a little weak. And then Envoy slid out a little late and put a couple shots into Kenny. Kenny laid down behind something and then just kind of peeked back up when Envoy tried to run at him. And Kenny was able to get the kill, won a huge 1v2 to win the series for OpTic. And realistically, in my opinion, I don't know if this is just me being a Thieves fan here, but I genuinely feel like the Thieves kind of just played themselves here. This was a series that I think the Thieves should have won. Especially when you look at the fact that they played themselves. They were up in the series for not playing very good in the first map. So it really felt like this was a series that the Thieves should have taken. And I think people who are kind of upset at them, I think there's a right to be upset, but you also have to keep in mind that it's still early in the season and they just competed really, really well, despite the fact that they didn't play well. They stayed in it and, they had the opportunity to win the series and they just weren't able to close it out. But that's it for the recap for the Thieves and OpTic match. This coming weekend, we have two more matches. I believe it's against Miami and Boston, I believe. I think both of those are winnable matches. Boston's probably going to be the tougher matchup if I had to guess. But I think Thieves should be able to win both. I will be watch partying both of those matches. So if you are wanting to join in, I will be live on YouTube watching those. And I think that's going to do it for today's recap. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next one.